That's Sean Spicer just wrapping up his daily press conference, his daily news briefing. I'm Trish Regan. Welcome, everyone, to the Intelligence Report, here to go through some of what we just heard as we watch a market that's off 52 points right now. I have with me talk radio host and the author of Kennedy Babylon, Howie Carr, and syndicated talk radio host, Chris Hahn. Some radio guys with me today. You both got great voices. Yeah. I'm going to start with you, Howie. All right, there's a lot of ground to cover here. But let me start first with the intelligence gathering that Donald Trump and his administration believe may have happened because the Obama administration was doing this for political purposes. We heard him cite Evelyn Farkas, who's a former member of the Obama administration, and some comments she made on the media circuit saying that basically she was encouraging her former friends that were in the White House to spread intelligence that had been gathered as much as they possibly could. Sean Spicer taking issue with that. What do you think really happened?
Well, I think, again, as Sean Spicer said, they should be asking Evelyn Farkas. She left the administration in mid-2015, and then she has apparently this access to this intelligence that was collected in 2016, more than a year later, and she's asking people to on Capitol Hill, staffers and members of Congress to spread it around, apparently, and nobody.
And by the way, she said that.
In that
she actually came right out and said that in an interview on another cable network.
Right, and it's one thing, too, if she were actually a member of the administration, because she might, at that point, have access to those documents, although supposedly you're supposed to, quote-unquote, mask American citizens. But again, she hadn't been in government service for more than a year, and she apparently, according to her own statements on MSNBC, had access to this so-called intelligence. And the other thing is, too, that really is amazing about this whole so-called investigation is that, you know, first the New York Times says they used wiretap data against Trump and his associates. Then they said, well, they didn't really mean it was wiretap data. Now they're admitting that Nunes is right, that there is this surveilled data, wiretap data, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And yet the New York Times story, the front page story today, they just mentioned it in passing, like the intelligence being available and pushed out to various media. It's a sidebar to the main story, which is how did Chairman Nunes get the documents?
You know, I feel like there's a lot of sidebars here. Anyway, you know, Chris, I know you're dying to get in with the rebuttal, so let's hear it.
Yeah, let's address the Farkas fracas first, okay? She was out of the administration in 2015. She is irrelevant to the conversation. She's talking about what she heard and what she may have heard. And in fact, there have been reports, quite credible reports, about the Russian investigation where intelligence regarding that was spread out among the intelligence agencies. It was shared with them.
Yeah, and by the way, I should add to that,
it's a crime to spread
that Russian investigation that, you know, we don't know quite where that ever went. I mean, there was a lot of innuendo, and this was during the campaign. They really weren't able to uncover anything, but it was out there, right? People were talking about it, and again, innuendo.
I think that the President of the United States and his administration should be less concerned about whether or not he was wiretapped, which he wasn't, and more concerned about how foreign powers
the New York Times says he was
with our elections and elections around the world. It is time for us to get serious about that. This is not a slight on his election.
What do you think actually? This is what amazing. What do you think happened? How do you think that Russia stole the election? Guys, let me jump in. Howie, hang on one second here. I want to know, why is it that the left keeps saying Russia stole the election? Because that's a pretty big charge,
I didn't say that at all.
Many members of the left are saying this. This is what we keep hearing.
With the election, and there's no doubt that they did. And we need to be very, very clear that
there's no doubt. Where's the evidence?
Spreading propaganda across the United States. I still believe campaigns matter. I've said it on your show before. I still believe campaigns matter.
What is the evidence?
Where is the evidence, Chris?
Propaganda in our country. That should be something we're all concerned
about. Where's the beef? Where's the beef, Chris?
That's one way to put it. I keep asking the same thing. That's why I find this story so incredibly frustrating, because you're dealing with speculation and accusations that haven't been founded on anything. At least at the Clinton Foundation, for goodness sakes, you could say, okay, Clinton took money from this particular person that was doing this particular thing. Go ahead.
Trish, can we point out, Trish, that the New York Times, again, the New York Times, which now admits that this data was collected, the New York Times said in a story, a long story of a couple of months ago, the FBI went to both the Republican and the Democratic National Committees early last year and said someone's trying to hack into your email systems. Again, I'm quoting the New York Times now. The FBI called them and said, please call us so we can talk to you about cybersecurity. The Republican National Committee called back and upgraded its cybersecurity. The Democratic National Committee, according to the New York Times, the most anti-Trump medium ever, said that nobody from the Democratic National Committee ever called back the FBI.
Guys, I got to take a quick break. We're going to continue this
Why don't we just remind each other that
in 2 minutes.